All right, welcome back to the Bad MMA Math Fight Breakdown. We made it, bro.
Yeah.
This is the first legit big one of the year. UFC 298. I don't know about you, but I need this after the last two cards, man.
Yeah.
Trash.
Those last two, especially the last one, it's been rough. Especially, you know, seeing my boy Joe not be able to finish the job. Just kind of disappointing. Both of these cards, they didn't give a ton of excitement, but we got this one to make up for it. So I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about it too. So we'll probably do the same format as we always do. You know, we'll go through the entire card, quick roundup for the prelims. I must say though, I'm concerned about this one because, you know, we're basically in a situation where we cannot lose any cards from any fights from this one. You know, there's only 12 fights overall, which is dangerous. I feel like if anything drops out, this card could be really jeopardized. But anyway, so as always, you know, like and subscribe to myself. We're edging very close to 600 over here. Head over to Making the Walk MMA. There isn't content like ours out there, I feel, in terms of the variety. So jump on the train early. We're both active on Twitter, same handles. I'll chuck those in. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, so fight number one. We've got a strawweight bout between Miranda Maverick and Angela Lee. This one might sound a little bit crazy. I don't really rate Miranda Maverick that highly. Now, this might sound a little bit, again, like a way out. And this is actually the only time I'm going to be doing this on the card. But again, I try to always think about this in terms of betting advice. I am taking the over 2.5 on this one. And again, spoiler alert, it's not the only one it is the only one I'm going to do on this card. I know that Lee has lost 3 in a row. And she's not really all that good. But at the same time, she's kind of somewhat competent. And I think that Maverick, from what I've seen for her in her career so far, is bang average. I actually think they're very comparable in skill level here. Maverick's obviously younger, so I get why she's seen more favorably. She's got time to improve. But again, as far as the odds go, I'm not taking this woman at minus 205. Yeah, get fucked with that. I'm not doing that. So yeah, I think this one's going to be close. And even if it somehow isn't close, I can see this one going all the way. So yeah, plus 2.5 for me, bro.
Yeah, I would echo that, the fact that I think it's going to decision for sure. I mean, that's a no-brainer bet to me. Man, first of all, Andrea Lee has a small ass head. Like, she's got a little bitty head, which means she can't be knocked out. You can't find her chin because her head's too small. But I think that Miranda Maverick, for some odd reason, I do think that she's going to start to be on the uptick and start to slide into the back end of those rankings. I actually rated her pretty high before. Like, I thought that, you know, her and Macy Barber and, you know, that whole thing, I thought that they were going to start to move up the ranks together, but Maverick never hit her stride. But I do think that she gets this win. I don't think it's going to be exciting, but I do think that she'll walk out of there with a decision, and Andrea Lee might be looking for a job.
Oh yeah, but then, you know, with women, they tend to get quite a few more chances than the men.
Yeah, they might do the Cynthia Calvillo thing and let her stick around for a little bit. You know,
yeah,
she's not a bad looking person, so that helps.
No, she's not. That helps. That does help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm a big advocate for good looking women in general. So yeah, so I think we're fairly. I do think Maverick will edge it as well. I'm not betting it at that. I think it's going to be closer than people think. It's not minus 205. There's not a distance. I can't see that distance at all.
No, because Andrea Lee's
So, yeah, I'm gonna
losses,
go
she wasn't getting murdered in all of her losses.
No.
Like, she's competent. She's just ran into the wrong people.
Yeah, I mean, her CV is far more impressive. She's literally had 5 or 6 relatively tough ones in a row. So, and like you said, she doesn't get starched. So I can see this one being pretty close. All right. Second fight on the card, we're on to the welterweights. We've got WOODBURN versus ELLIOT. Now, again, this one has the potential to be a little bit risky, purely because ELLIOT obviously hasn't been under the bright lights yet. You know, I know that Val got absolutely starched by Bo, but at least he's been in that situation where he's on a big card, he's facing a very much touted contender. So the nerves that go with that is obviously something that you need to take account of. I'm actually going to go with the discount Brit here, you know, with Wales being the UK's bumhole and all of that. Now, I'm not picking him because he's very good. I mean, he's got some good attributes. You know, he's a tall guy. He's got a big reach. The striking's crisp. He comes from Jack Shaw's gym as well. And those guys drill very, very well in the wrestling. You know, it's one of the better gyms in the UK. I'm basically picking him because I think WOODBURN is really very shit. Like, I watched him in the I know it sounds harsh, but it's just how I feel. Like, I watched him in the regionals a lot in the build up to his fight with Nickel, and the guy's just wild. Like, he swings like he's got downs. I don't like that he's. Was that too much? I'm going to hell.
Probably accurate.
I'm going to hell. It's all right. At this point, I've gone too far already, so I might as well just keep going. Might as well just go all in, yeah. Yeah, I also don't like that he's coming down from middleweight. Like, so I basically think he's gonna swing like a mong and get clipped at some point. I don't think it would be very, very early, but I think I can see him losing this one. I don't know. I just don't think he's very good.
Yeah, I have the same thoughts. I think that ELLIOT is, he's a little bit more polished. I mean, he's obviously young. Val is, you know, he is wild. I mean, his nickname's the Animal. That makes sense. But I think this is the UFC saying, man, we really appreciate you stepping in and taking that Bo Nickel fight. We're going to throw you another one. And here's that other one. And so if he doesn't do well in this one, which I don't think he will, he'll be lucky if he gets another one. But you know what? If he does lose this one, I have the perfect fight for him after this. And this is a loser leaves town match. This is going to be Val WOODBURN against Darius Flowers at welterweight.
That would be amazing. The thing is, I don't like it for Flowers. I think he's probably going to be gone already, but I wouldn't mind seeing that. I mean, they're comparable. I actually
think Flowers will win that fight. I think he would.
Wow, we're really shitting on WOODBURN here because Flowers was not great yesterday, was it?
Flowers, he looked good for about 30 seconds. And I think that's 15 seconds longer than Val would look good. So I think he'll win that fight. But for this fight, yeah, hopefully that happens. But for this one, I think ELLIOT wins. I don't think that he stops him. I think it's a decision. And Val just doesn't ever put it really together.
I think he's got a decent chance if he does try to wrestle, because I've heard, I haven't seen it, but I've heard that he's reasonably competent there. We just haven't seen much of it because, like I said, scouring through his stuff, he just seems to swing wildly.
Yeah,
that seems to be his go-to, which is obviously why they put Bo Nickel with him in there in the first place. So this is just going to be cakewalk, just dog walk him for as long as it lasts. Okay, so we both like the Welshman on that one. Fight number 3. We've got another. I believe it's welterweight. I might be incorrect about that. It's Josh Quinlan versus. I thought so. Yeah, Quinlan versus Barlow. You know what? I love Josh Quinlan. the guy made me so much money in his last fight. Like, he was a massive favorite against Trey Waters, a big one. And when I saw those odds, I pretty much nearly nutted my pants when I saw that. So like, I went big on Waters, and I got paid that night. I was a very happy man. So I love Quinlan for taking one for the team on that one. I had a nice weekend that time. Yeah, that was a once in a lifetime money line. Now the thing is about Quinlan, he does have a decent amount of power. I've got questions about his heart. He does tend to fade. And looking at, again, Danny Barlow was somebody that I wasn't that familiar with. He's fighting out of a group called Law School MMA. Maybe you're familiar with that, Jim. I don't really know that much about them.
I know a little bit.
What kind of struck? You know a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of struck me though is like the guy's. I mean, he's got an 8-inch reach advantage, and looking at what I've seen of his fights so far, he knows how to use it. Like, he's very slick. He's been knocking people out, which is always a good sign. And again, he's not knocking guys out always in the first round, which again is sometimes can be a little bit of an alarm bell, as we saw last week with that Burchek or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Where basically once he got through the first round, you could see there was not much left there. Barlow has a few later ones as well, and he's quite patient. Like I said, I didn't like what I saw from Quinlan in his last one at all. I thought it was a bit gutless by the time, and he stayed at range and just got picked off. And now that he's fighting a guy with an even longer range, that's even more of a sniper, I think he's going to get clapped out here, and I can see him getting finished in this one potentially. But I'm going to go with the money line because it's not bad. You know, I think you can get -165, something like that, which is it's a nice parlay fluffer.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you if you would throw that into a parlay.
I think I have. I've already made my first parlay of this week. And I'm not going to reveal it just yet because then it would be, you know, because some of them are later on in the card. But yeah. I think he's one worthy of throwing in for sure.
Yeah, this one I actually did go back and forth on this one because of the good things that I saw in Quinlan. Like you said, he's got pretty good power. At the beginning of the fight with Waters, like, he looks good, and I was, you know, really thinking like, man, wait, is this a person that I need to watch? And then things started to go the other way. And then with Barlow, I followed him on social media before he made his way to the UFC or whatnot, and saw a lot of his training. And I mean, he's got some really, really good stand-up, specifically his boxing. And like you said, he does use his reach really well. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the way that Kevin Holland uses his reach. And so he's not as big as Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland's, I think, an inch taller than him, but nonetheless, their reach is silly. Anybody with 80 plus inches of reach, like, you have to use it. Yeah, you have to use it. Yeah. And he does a good job of it. And yeah, I think he gets Quinlan out of there in the second round by knockout.
Yeah, I like the second. I can see him like, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think that he's going to rush it. I think he'll probably hurt him in the first, but by the second, Quinlan's not going to want one anymore. He's going to look for the exit. So
yeah, that's exactly where I was going as well. Yeah, I can see him popping the jab out in the first, establishing that reach. Quinlan getting frustrated and maybe rushing in the second, and then just getting wonged. That's what I can probably see. Yeah, it's like you said, Quinlan looks the part because he's, you know, pretty shredded dude, thick looking, looks aggressive. But like I said, that last one, when he was stuck on the outside and couldn't get in, he looked lost. He looked lost. He had no idea what he was doing, and that's a problem for me.
Big problem.
I don't love it. All right, so next one, fight number 4, is at light heavyweight. I'm not going to try and pronounce this guy's first name because I'm just not doing it. We've got ZHANG versus RIBEIRO. Now again, we had a little bit of a conversation about this before, not what we were picking specifically, but I said I might flip-flop. And this is one that I feel I might do. Now this is a risky one because, like I said, I didn't watch much of Road to the UFC at all. I didn't even know about it until, you know, they had like a load of contenders just kind of turned up on live TV.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about Road to the UFC at all. But I have seen Ribeiro because I saw him on, I'm pretty sure he's the guy that I saw in the Contender Series. And he was like a plus 400 or something. And I remember he was the last parlay on a leg that I had. And I was counting my money at that point. And then he absolutely wonged out the guy that was the favorite very, very impressively as well.
Against Bruno Lopez. Yeah.
Yes. And he was being touted as
undefeated.
Yeah. They probably had his contract inked out already in the back. And they were just waiting for him to come back and make it official. It felt like that. All the promo work was about him. So I was like, I remember I got through some like underdogs that night. And I remember thinking, what am I going to spend my money on? And yeah, that's why I remember him like quite clearly. Now I was actually going to take, like, looking at the fights, when I originally sat down to think this through, I was going to take Zhang. You know, he's a former heavyweight. And again, it's looking at his highlights, there's a lot of impressive stuff going on. Like, he's chinned a lot of guys. I don't know. What worried me a bit in his last one is he got hit quite a bit on his way to winning. And he was another one who was a sizable underdog, I believe, in his fight. But he was getting clipped quite a bit and hurt. And there's something about Ribeiro. Again, it's that reach again. I think he's got an 83 inch reach, which again is like freaky territory.
Yeah.
And he's got a very, very weird kind of awkward style. So I was going to take Zhang, but literally now in the moment, I'm going to flip-flop. And I'm going to take Ribeiro. Someone's getting knocked out. Someone's going for like an early live nap. This one is not going the distance. Someone's getting slapped. And again, I would advise people to maybe bet with caution if you're going to pick one side or the other, because both these guys are capable of chinning the other. And I just think that probably, if you ask me again in half an hour, I'd be like, do you know what? Actually, can I change my pick to? It's that kind of fight. It's that kind of one, for sure.
Yeah, I had the same issue. I actually went with Zhang because he fought at heavyweight, and I figure maybe he can take the shots a little bit better. But it really is kind of a toss up, and I think that they did a decent job with the line, with how close it is. But I wouldn't be surprised if I were wrong. But, you know, I don't know what the line is for, you know, as far as the over under on the length of the fight. But whatever it is, I probably bet the under, because this fight is not.
The under feels like a parlay fluffer. I mean, they're gonna swing wild. Someone's getting chinned in that first round, I would assume.
I wouldn't be surprised by anybody, but I'm going to go Zhang just because of the fact that I think that he may be able to take the punches a little bit better. The gorilla against the mountain tiger, somebody's going to sleep for sure.
Definitely. It's again, it should be one that I can see this one potentially livening up, you know, setting the card on fire at that point. Maybe. Yeah,
that's a potential fight of the night. Like, if they, you know, if they both clip each other, or a performance bonus, somebody's going to get an extra 50K out of this, I think.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. So we're on opposing sides this time. But like I said, I mean, I was set to pick Zhang when we hit record. I was like, yeah, this is where I'm going to go. I've got them lined up in my head. Yeah, I've been doing this all week with these two, and that's probably, like I said, where I'd advise people to be cautious on it with these two. I think either of them are capable. All right, so fight number 5, bantamweight. We've got Rinya Nakamura versus Vera. This one is a no-brainer. I don't really have to talk too much about this one. This one's one of the locks of the cards. I think Rinya Nakamura is obviously such an elite wrestler, which is kind of a bizarre concept to say for a Japanese-based fighter. I mean, I know they have good wrestlers coming out in the past, but they're not really known for producing elite wrestlers in the modern era. And his striking is pretty decent as well, you know. I think this one is a layup. Like, I'm not shitting on Vera. He's obviously made it to this level, but he's 36 and he doesn't have a profile photo for me to even use in my graphics when I put this one up. You're just going to see an empty black shadow man, and he's 36, which ain't a good sign. So I'm gonna go with Rinya destroying him. He's either gonna completely dominate him for 3 rounds and just ragdoll him, or I can see him taking him down and finding that sub that he couldn't find in his last one. I think this one's fairly... This is one of the easiest ones I had tonight.
Yeah, this is... So, Nakamura's going to win this fight, but this is a fight that if you got some money left in the couch cushions and you're like, you know, I didn't even know I had it, I'll throw it on Vera. You never know. You know,
yeah,
because it's one of those like super long shots that you just like, it's not going to pan out.
He must be what, a minus 600.
I'll donate.
He's like a, yeah. Someone's going to cash big one of these days on something like this.
These are the ones that
shaping
I normally
up to be
like. I'll jump on these just because you never know. You know, I'll bet the money that I don't expect back. It's a gift.
Yes. Yeah, it's a freebie, as we call it, as we say in England, a freebie. Yeah. I mean, I think like I said, it's just it feels like we need a prominent fighter in that region. Just beat this guy up for a bit, get a name for you, add another number to your record. That's what this feels like. It feels a bit like bullying, if I'm being honest. That's what it feels like to me. See, I'm going to go with Rinya, and I think you're obviously the same. Yeah. This one, this is one when I set out to make 6th fight on the card. It's a heavyweight scrap. We've got Justin TAFA. It is Justin, right? And Rogerio de Lima. I'm very interested to see what you feel about this one, because again, this is another one that I flip-flopped on quite a bit, and I'm fairly comfortable with where I'm laying at the moment. Now, originally, when it was announced, I was like, I'm taking Tubby TAFA. Of course I am. And then, you know, I got to thinking a little bit, and, you know, common sense took over a little bit. I'm going to pick the dumpy Brazilian. Now, here's the thing. Like, I don't think De Lima is that good, and I'm just going to say that out the gate. But he's massive. And that kind of lowers the risk for me that he's going to get chinned. I think this fight's going to be extremely ugly. I think it's going to be a grind. And what far edges this for me is De Lima's actually got half decent takedowns. And I have a sense that TAFA has no wrestling whatsoever. We haven't really seen it from him. I think we've seen him get taken down once or twice. I remember Vandera did it to him, and he could do nothing. Like, Vandera's terrible when he just laid on him. Yeah. So I think if he gets TAFA down, he's just going to sit on his head and just tucker him out. Like, now in heavyweight, I'm not usually one to pick an over 1.5 as well. But because I'm picking De Lima, that might be an enticing one as well. Because I do think a lot of time is going to be spent in the clinch, on the ground. De Lima doing damage there. I think he's going to stay... All De Lima really has to do in this fight to win it is stay safe enough at distance, because we all know what Tafa's going to try and do. He doesn't try to hide what he's going to do. I think if he stays safe at distance and times it correctly, times a takedown correctly, once he saps that power a little bit, I think he'll coast. But again, could Tafa chin him? Absolutely. You know, Tafa's power is serious. But I think Rogerio is going to be too well-rounded for him, and he's, like I said, he's big. He's a big heavyweight. Yeah. So I'm taking De Lima.
So this one, I did think about those things. You know, De Lima is experienced. He's been in there with heavy hitters before. Sometimes he walked out okay, and sometimes he got kneed in the face. You know, but I think that Junior has something special going on. I think he's about to put something together. I'm not saying that he's going to make a run to the title or anything crazy, but I think that he's going to make himself into a bigger draw than he is right now, and kind of pull more people into that Tai Tuivasa, Tyson Pedro, loving the Samoan heritage. Mark Hunt's going to make an appearance at something, not a UFC official event, but I think that Justin gets him. I think he finds him early. I think he knocks him out in the first. So, but I wouldn't be comfortable betting anything on the rounds, considering I'm going with Justin.
I think you can get a decent one on the KO.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think De Lima, if he were to win, it would have to be him grinding Justin out and taking away that power by making him exhausted, which he can do because of his, him being a veteran. But I think that he's too hittable, and you can't allow Justin to get anything. If he hits you 2 times, you're waking up in the back.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm going TAFA in the first.
I think, again, I think we were on similar lines, because it was the same thing to me when I saw this fight. I was like, yeah, TAFA's going to chin him in the first. And it was, so it's for me, it's going one of those 2 ways that we've literally just described. It's either going to be TAFA by brutal KO, or it's going to be really ugly and De Lima's going to grind him out. And again, it's what you brought up. I think that veteran savvy. And again, what scares me is it's been brought up in quite a few breakdowns. I think like the level of competition that TAFA's faced as well doesn't fill me with much confidence.
It's true.
But again, it doesn't matter with him. He's going to have those nights, I know, in his career where he's going to be fighting guys that are technically better than him on paper, and he's just going to chin them, because he's just, that X factor is a massive X factor. And like I said, I'm very excited to see how it's going to be interesting. Anyway, it's an interesting stylistic matchup. It might not be the most exciting, but I think it will be intriguing for the reasons we've just discussed.
Yeah, I think there's no middle ground. It's either going to be super exciting because somebody gets knocked out, or it's going to be extremely boring because they both just get tired and one lays on top and the other one is on the bottom. It's going to be one of the 2.
100%. Yeah, that's exactly how I see it going as well. And again, not one that I feel, the odds are close for a reason. I think De Lima's a minor favorite in this one, which I can get behind. But again, it is that way for a reason. It's pretty much close to a pick'em as you can get. So, main event of the prelims, as I like to call it. We've got DERN versus LEMOS at strawweight. Now, you know how I feel about betting on women's fights. I either don't do it, or I usually take the over. I'm betting on this one, bro. Now, I know that a lot of people think that Mackenzie Dern is hot. Now, personally, I disagree with that. She's a little bit horsey for me. If your thing is like females that chug sugar cubes by the bucket, then good for you. It's not really my I don't really like. Look, I'm just gonna say I don't really look for.
It's the teeth. It's the teeth.
It's the teeth. I don't look for barnyard qualities in my females. That's all I'm saying. Like, that's just me. That's just me. But I'm gonna try to keep this relevant because she does have other qualities that one can enjoy. But keeping it relevant to her fighting style, I think she's not good. I think Mackenzie Dern is not good. I think she's a horrible striker, very, very uncoordinated. And what really bothers me about the perception of Mackenzie Dern in general is there is a massive misconception about her strengths, particularly her BJJ strengths. Now, she does have amazing BJJ, but the bitch can't wrestle. And this is like a really bad problem, because in order to obviously achieve what she's trying to do, she needs to be able to get people down, and her takedown game is horrendous. It's horrendous. Like, she's very easy to keep off. Now, I know obviously Lemos had difficulty with ZHANG in that department. It's ZHANG. Like, DERN is not anywhere near on the same level in the ability to take people down, and that's my problem in this one. I think Lemos is going to negate the takedowns really easily, and I think she's going to beat the piss out of her on the feet. I think it's going to be horrific. It's gonna be emblematic of kind of. I don't want to say that DERN is as bad as Pena in the striking.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that far away, if I'm being honest. She's a horrible striker, and the thing is, she fooled all of us when she beat up Angela Hill. Like, I was like, wow, she's tough. Because like, Hill is not a world beater, but she's tough. Like, she's a tough out, and she's got some skills.
Yeah.
And DERN looked great in that fight.
Yeah, she did.
But nah, the last, who was the last person she fought? It was
Jessica.
I forget off the top of my head. Oh.
Yeah, it was
and that
Jessica.
was the perfect time.
Yeah.
That was the perfect time to fight, and Jessica beat her up like really badly. It was brutal. And I think we're going to get a similar thing here. Lemos is actually a skilled striker.
She is.
I think she's going to beat her up. I think this is going to, and the odds are closing as well. I think Lemos started out as like a minus 250 or so. She's like minus 175, 165 now. People are putting money on DERN. I think she's going to get crumbled. I think it's going to be convincing.
Yeah. So, you know, Amanda Lemos actually reminds me a little bit of Jermaine Durandamy, with like just her stature. She's got long arms, and the way that she strikes, she does try to keep people on the end of her punches. But that being said, I'm being hopeful, but I'm hoping that the Mackenzie Dern that I saw fight Angela Hill resurfaces and gives her a little bit to think about on the feet. And you know, when it hits the ground, you know, Amanda Lemos is not awful on the ground. She's not great, but she's not awful. But I think that Mackenzie, somehow or another, and I don't know how she's going to do it, because you're right, her wrestling is not great. Even her training with Henry Cejudo just didn't quite get it there. But yeah, I think that somehow or another she gets it to the ground and she finds a submission. I'm hoping that's what she does. But if she doesn't, it does set up that match that I was talking about when I interviewed Jillian Robertson. Jillian Robertson against Mackenzie Dern. So either way it goes, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Mackenzie after this. But I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say Mackenzie wins this by sub. But I wouldn't bet on it.
You're crazy.
I wouldn't bet on it.
This might be the craziest thing you've said.
It
on
is.
This channel. It's up there.
It is. It is.
Up there.
I thought about
the thing is, I respect it. I respect it because you are one of the most optimistic people that I know, and this is, yeah, man. The thing is though that with the stuff that I've been saying over the last few weeks, I mean, I'm lucky that my channel is not that big yet, because I could have been a international laughingstock with some of the stuff I've said in the last few weeks. You know, especially
it comes with the territory.
My locks of last week, it does come. Like, it's been a rough couple of weeks, which actually brings us on to the overview of the prelim. So that's going to be on the screen for everyone now. Now, we did have a little discussion about this before. Honestly, the two of us have not really been wrecking it, let's say, so far in the prelims. Certainly in the last two. But yeah, we did manage to pull them out with like really strong main cards to salvage it. So we still ended up having some pretty decent cards by the end of the last two. I was considered like the prelim prince last year, so I don't know what the hell has happened to me in the last few months, but I need to get my shit together. All right.
I blame the matchmakers. It's the matchmakers' fault.
It's the matchmaker. The thing is, they're making it. And to be fair, it is actually indicative of how close the matchups have been. Because I think we've discussed this a little bit as well. It's hard to pick fights these days. It's getting harder, I find.
Yep.
And underdogs are kind of pulling things out more and more, you know. It's as if they don't know what they're talking about.
That's a credit to Mick and Sean. They're doing a great job of matching people up and making things even further down the card seem closer than they were in the past, for sure.
No, definitely. I cannot disagree with that. All right, so we got the main card now, which again on paper I think is great. And I did allude to this at the beginning as well. We cannot afford to lose a single bout on this one. So I am a little bit, I'm going to be nervous all the way up to weigh-ins. First fight, middleweight. I have a feeling that in this main card, we're going to have a lot of differences. It's going to be interesting to see here. So we've got Fluffy Hernandez versus KOPYLOV. Now, I'm going to be honest. I was a little bit happier when, you know, Hernandez was paired up with Aliskerov. Because I was actually going to pick Hernandez to fraud check that guy. Now, I don't love this one as much because I actually like KOPYLOV like quite a bit as well. But I'm just going to be directly honest about this. Fluffy might actually be in my top 5 active favorite UFC fighters right now. I think this guy is so horrendously underrated. You know, he's probably in my top 10. Top 5 is probably a little bit of a stretch, but you know. Now, I do think that KOPYLOV is excellent. He's a savage, you know, dangerous striker, pretty well-rounded. For me, I feel like there's something very special about Fluffy, though. I think he has the most contrived nickname in the UFC. You know, like, look at me, I'm Fluffy, I'm not a threat. And then he goes in there and absolutely... The relentlessness of this man. And I think what impresses me the most about him is the way that he transitions between things is so impressive to me. When he's grappling, he's constantly moving positions so fluidly. It's so difficult to know what he's going to do next. He never panics. He's very slyly well-rounded as well. Got a decent chin on him. What makes this guy so difficult to deal with is, like I said, he doesn't panic in any situation. He moves the way that his opponents are moving, and he's able to put them into very difficult situations. And we've seen KOPYLOV gas a little bit. You know, I think in KOPYLOV's best chance is to probably chin him out, and he's not that guy. Like, he's more of a volume, break you down kind of dude. I don't think Fluffy's going to give him that chance. I think he's going to relentlessly pressure him. He's never going to let him settle into a rhythm. I think it's a great card opener. I love it as a fight. Love both fighters. I am very high on Fluffy Hernandez, and I think he's going to be, if all things go to plan with this one, I think 1 or 2 fights down the line, he's going to be just outside that top 5 by the end of the year. And I picked him to do so. I think he is so good.
That's big right there. That's big. So I like Anthony Hernandez, and I do think the Fluffy nickname is what kind of threw me off the first time I heard about him. I was like, I was expecting a rounder person, but he showed up and, you know, he did what he did. But that being said, I am just as high on Roman KOPYLOV as you are on Anthony Hernandez. When I did a piece with E. Spencer Kite, man, gotta be like, I don't know, in the fall of last year, and we talked about, you know, the top 15 fighters to watch, and that dude was definitely on mine. I really like his striking. It's really crisp, but I do worry about his takedown defense. It's been an issue, and that was an issue when he fought Albert Duraev. And so I think that since that time, he's worked on it quite a bit, and I think that he'll do enough to stay out of his grasp long enough to piece him up. I'm not super confident with that because I do think that Anthony Hernandez is elite at what he does. And he doesn't get as much credit as he should. And I think that win or lose, Anthony Hernandez will be higher ranked in the organization and get top tier fights later on in the year. But I think for this one, I got to go with my boy Roman. And I think he wins it. I think he gets I don't know if he's going to get him out of there because Hernandez is tough.
And the cardio on Hernandez is insane.
Yeah, he never gets tired. But I think KOPYLOV wins 2 out of 3 and gets the decision.
If KOPYLOV can start,
I won't be surprised.
I
won't be surprised if Hernandez wins. I will not. So anybody that wants to come with an "I told you" show, I won't be surprised.
Yeah. I neither would. And again, it's one of those ones where it's. I prefer the Aliskerov fight purely because I'm not that high on Aliskerov. I don't really like him that much either. I mean, I don't really know much about his person. I'm indifferent to him, is more what I'd say. Whereas I like KOPYLOV. I enjoy his fight style. I want him to do well. So when I saw this matchup, I was like, ugh. And the thing is, I mean, it didn't sway me on picking Hernandez because, like, I did a, when I think it was a dark horse. It was the dark horses in the divisions video that I did, and I knew Hernandez was the first one that came to mind. I had no issue picking at this weight class. It was very easy for me, whereas the others was. I think this guy's outstanding. Like, I really do. And again, you lose to KOPYLOV. There's no shame in that. KOPYLOV's an absolute beast, and KOPYLOV kind of needs to move now. He looks like a child, but like he's 32 years old. He kind of needs to make things going. He needs to get things going now, because if he doesn't break into the top 15 soon, he might not get anywhere near where he wants to be. The great card opener, and as depressing as it is to have 2 fighters that I really enjoy, I had a feeling we were going to be different on this one. I'm interested to see what the next one will be like. So this is a little bit lower down on the card than I was expecting, but it's here. It's a fight that we've known about for a little while. MERAB Devashvili versus Henry Cejudo at bantamweight. Again, I feel like this one's definitely going to a decision. Oddly, I think if somebody does get a finish, I would probably favor Henry more to finish, because he does have. I did shit on his striking a little bit in the last video I made about overrated fighters, but he does have decent enough striking, but I don't see him doing it. I don't see him getting it done in this one. MERAB should be fighting for the title. So I'm going to be predictable here, along with probably what the majority of the internet are saying. I haven't seen too much about this card. I try to stay away from it until I make my own picks. I just think MERAB is going to spam at takedown attempts. And I don't mean takedowns. I mean takedown attempts. He might get 1 or 2, but I think that's going to work for him in the way that it did against Yan. I can see Henry spending 13 minutes of this fight defending. And that's the issue for me here. MERAB, if you put MERAB in there and said wrestle with somebody for an hour, he could keep that pace for the entire hour. He could keep doing the same thing. He's not going to run out of juice in 15 minutes. And I think the only way this goes south is if Henry cracks him somehow, which is not impossible. But I think part of this as well is I want him to win. I want him to win. Like, he deserves it. His boyfriend's finally left the division. And also, like, his I see him on Twitter a lot, like, the little videos and stuff that he does.
Oh yeah, he's funny.
His personality is growing on me by the day. I want to see him win this one, but I think this is going to be a pretty boring fight, and I think MERAB's just going to spam it out, winning by cuddling is my official. Yeah, just be nice.
I mean, yeah, I have the same thing. I think MERAB's going to win, but I actually hope Henry wins, and the reason why I do think that MERAB should be fighting for the title. If when they chose Cheeto, I was, if I were Corey Sandhagen and MERAB, like, I would have been so upset. But they seem to take it on the chin just fine. But that being said, the reason that I wanted Henry to win is just for excitement factor. It's just, I know what MERAB is going to do when he fights Sean. You know, if Sean is the one that's there, it's just hitting that same takedown button. I think on the PlayStation it's R1 and X and O, and so he's going to hit that over and over again. And so, like, it's not super exciting to watch. Even though I think he put on the clinic when he fought, you know, who was it? Peter Yan. Yeah, I mean, that was bad. That was bad. But
I was angry during that fight. You remember, it was one of my biggest viewed videos. I was angry during that fight. Legit. I was so frustrated because I knew within a minute and 30, I was like, Yan ain't winning this fight. I was like, this ain't gonna be his night.
No, he finds this way of just breaking your will to even want to continue doing this. It's not he's beating you up, really. It's just you're like, I don't want to keep doing this.
You can see the look of defeat when he fights people. They're just like, they're looking out, like, you know, that soulless expression of fuck this guy. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's that.
It's like, fight me in a regular fight. It's like, these are part of the rules, and he's gonna keep on doing it. And
fair play to
I don't know how Henry's going to deal with that. I know he knows it's coming. Henry he has a very high fight IQ, but fight IQ is one thing, and actually doing it is different. So yeah.
I think he plans very well. I just think he sometimes doesn't execute it as well as he should.
That's true. Yeah. But I don't think that. I think the Triple C. I think this is the last time we see him.
I very firmly agree with that. I very firmly agree. Now, but this one does feel like a bit of a banana skin for the simple reason of everyone's making the same pick, and that's usually when it goes wrong.
It's true.
And Henry's done it in the past where he just chins somebody out of nowhere. That would not surprise me either.
At least he hurts them enough to where they have to scramble and
yeah. So that would not surprise me at all. But, you know, again, we have to be very honest and in terms of what we see. And the most likely thing to happen is going to be the cuddle match. I think is what we're going to get. So we both agree on that one. Now the next one, I don't know if we're going to agree for the rest of this main card. I can see this coming. This is where I think we go in completely separate directions. And I'm expecting it maybe to an extent on this one. So we've obviously got welterweight. Neale versus Garry. Now, I know this is where, as I said, we're likely to go on different paths. The regular viewers will know this because we have discussed this, I think, live on stream before at some point. I have a lot of respect for Geoff Neal. I think he's really dangerous. You know, he has had some questionable losses. And this is hands down Garry's toughest fight. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. There are some concerns to me over Garry because obviously we don't know what his mental state is like. You know, he obviously pulled out of that fight with Luque for non-medical reasons. Let's be honest. That's exactly what happened. You know, he completely mentally crumbled in that situation. And to be fair, I can understand it. A lot of it is self-inflicted. But he proved that he's very weak-minded in that situation. I do think that Garry is a massive chode, and I don't like him. And I hate to admit this because being of Irish descent, you know, he is an embarrassment to the motherland, which I've said in the past. But one thing that I do have to admit is that he's a very, very good fighter. You know, he's clearly a student of the game. He has burned a lot of bridges, but I think he's someone that constantly works on himself. The scary thing for me with Garry, he does get hit. And if Neale chins him, if Neale catches him, this ain't going to be some Kenan Song situation where you'll wobble a little bit. You're getting slept if Neale hits you.
Yep.
I believe in Garry's skill set. I do think that Garry is going to come up short when he goes to that next level. I think when he encounters like a Shavkat or a Leon, I think he's going to get worked. But I just have a feeling he's going to squeak, and I mean squeak, past Neale in this one. I think he's going to face some adversity. It wouldn't surprise me if it went to a split decision. I can see this being very similar to how this could be the potential for fight of the night, this one. I think it's going to be a war to some extent, and I just think Garry is that much more technically proficient for me, but I've got a lot of respect for Neil, and I'm looking forward to this one. Just going to edge Garry.
Yeah, I am 100% looking forward to this one. What's interesting about Ian Garry, it feels like the UFC is trying to work with him to rehab his image a little bit. On Embedded, they were showing him, he was training out with Charles Oliveira's team out in Brazil, and they saw, showed him bonding, and his wife was there and kids was there, and they're playing with parrots and all that kind of, okay, that's cool. But I still don't really, when adversity hits, he shows his real character, and I don't like it. And so because of that, I feel like when adversity hits, even in a fight, and adversity is going to hit in this fight, he's going to look for a way out. And I think that Neal, with Jeff Neal, a lot of times it feels like the losses that he's had outside of the Shavkat one have been due to his motivation. Sometimes he loses motivation in a fight, kind of like what Leon does. He loses motivation in a fight, and he finds himself okay, coming to terms with a loss before the loss happens. And I think that the extra motivation that Ian Garry has given him is going to take away that, that thought of giving in. He's going to go in there saying, I can't lose to this dude, not this guy. Shavkat, that's a good guy. Okay, I can understand. Okay, Wonderboy Thompson, he's a good dude. Like I'm okay with this. But Ian Garry, like, he can't come back home. He's from Dallas. Like, I know how we are. And you get in a fight in the street in Dallas, and you go and tell your mom that you lost, you got to go back outside and go fight that dude, or you're gonna have to fight your mama when you come in. So it's that kind of fight for him. He's gonna have to beat this dude. And so I'm gonna say that he beats him, and I think he knocks him out. Embarrassingly, in front of his wife and his kid.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Despite the fact that I am picking Garry to win, as I said, I would love that to happen. I don't like him. I don't like him. I want to see him get battered. And Neal is such a, again, he's not just a very good fighter. He's very likable as well.
Yeah.
He comes across as a very humble sort of. He's never been one to sort of throw shit. He just gets in there and does his thing. So I'd love to see that, and I hope you're right. I just think Gary's going to insufferably plod on for a little bit, but I'd be glad. Yeah, I'd be very glad to see that go down. All right, so we're on to the co-main. A very short main card. We've been getting kind of used to having 6-fight main cards since the turn of the year, but this is a 5-fight main card. We've got a middleweight scrap between the Reaper and Paulo Costa. Now, before seeing what Dricus did to Whittaker, this would have been one of the easiest picks of the night for me. I still am going to go with Whittaker, but I do have my concerns. I'm worried about the chin a little bit. He got blasted by Dricus. Like, Dricus absolutely blew him out of the water, and I love Dricus. I've got a lot of colleagues I used to work with they went to school with Dricus, so it's one of those things where we've been following his career from the beginning, really. And he was one that was always talked about as he's going to be in the UFC, he's going to be a champion, and I was like, yeah, whatever. But then as the ball kept rolling, and you get more and more behind the guy. But even I didn't expect him to destroy Robert the way that he did, and I think that asks me more questions about Robert than it does about Dricus as well. I think Whittaker is very good. He's very, very well rounded, but I think a lot is made of his wrestling, in the sense of he's seen as a very good wrestler, but I just think it's a very poor wrestling division. So I think if
True.
I'd like to see Costa change it up for this one and actually try and apply a little bit of wrestling, which we know is his background. You know, he's got a good wrestling, like BJJ base. And I think if he does that, he could do very well. But we know he's not going to do that. We know he's going to stand and bang with Whittaker, who is, being fair here, he's far more technical.
Yeah.
And I think part of me is saying maybe Robert underestimated Dricus a little bit, and that's why he laid such an egg. I think he was thinking, this guy's goofy. I'm just gonna, if I go in there and be me, I'll take care of business. And I don't think he was expecting to get what you got from Dricus. But I still believe that Whittaker is one of the best middleweights of all time. And I think he's going to go in there and I think he's going to school Costa on the feet. I think there's going to be moments when Costa lands a few and it looks really good. And I'd love Costa to win. You know, I think it would be great for the division to have him back active and near the top. But I'm not off Reaper yet. And I think he's far too well-rounded. I'm taking Robert to win this.
Yeah. This is one I kind of went back and forth on as well. It's funny because a lot of people who really don't watch the fights close enough, they feel like, oh, well, Paulo Costa has the power advantage and all the, like, Paulo Costa does not have one punch power. He just doesn't. Like, people think that he does because of how he looks. He doesn't have it. He's more of a person that overwhelms you. He'll back you up against the fence. He'll square his hips, and then he'll start to overwhelm you with volume. And Robert Whittaker, being a person who's on his toes, he's always moving. He's not going to get backed into a corner like that. The people who have beaten him, when Izzy knocked him out, Izzy sniped him. He caught him clean. When Dricus got him out of there, Dricus, he hurt him, took him down, and beat him up. Paulo Costa's not going to do any of those things. If he's going to finish the fight, that's how he's going to do it. And I don't think that Robert Whittaker allows it. I think that he's more focused. He even said that, he did take Dricus lightly. He didn't train the way that he should have. And he wasn't up on his game the way that he should have been, as far as like being knowledgeable about what the puzzle that Dricus du Plessis was going to present to him when he got in the cage. And I don't think that he makes that mistake. There's tons and tons of tape on Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa has been towards the top of the division for a while. So he knew that eventually that this was going to come. And so I think that he's going to be fully prepared for it. And I think that he's not going to finish him, but he's going to take it to decision, and it's going to be an easy one. And Paulo Costa is going to have to figure out what he's going to do. You know what? Paulo Costa should probably go up to light heavyweight after this.
I think he's got a much better chance. I mean, like if he genuinely did light heavyweight the right way, he could do well there. It's not a great division. Like outside the top 5, there's things he could do there. I agree. But yeah, I see it going this way. I mean,
who wouldn't want to see Paulo Costa against Johnny Walker?
Oh, that would be beautiful.
Yeah.
I'd take Costa in that one, by the way. I really would. Maybe. I don't know. I didn't think about that one. Depends what Johnny Walker shows up. It's a tricky one. But yeah, I think it would be great to see him come in there with a different game plan. We just won't. I just don't think he will.
No,
there's no way that he does. He just doesn't learn.
No, he doesn't.
It makes him fun. It makes his fights fun. But for the longevity of his career and the progression of his career, he needs to do something different. And I hope he shocks the world and does that. Comes out and really. That
would be awesome for him. That would be awesome for him. Does he have the same head coach as Henry did before he fired him just the other day? Yeah.
Yeah. I actually, I don't really watch the Guru that much, but when that video popped up, that was some interesting. He has some interesting insight on that one. About because now the coach is now with MERAB. What my understanding of it, he went over to his team.
What? I did not know that. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I mean, the Guru was basically questioning like, oh, did they? Because he did it on Embedded, right? Like, you know, he pulled him out and then went, I don't want you for this camp. And then suddenly he's turned up at MERAB's gym, and like MERAB's you know, doing the whole rolling him out, and you know MERAB now.
Man,
I'm wondering if it's a little bit of a setup to get a spy in the camp. I don't know. Could be.
That is straight movie stuff right there. That's something you'd see in Rocky or Creed or something. Like,
yeah, either Henry's a genius or he's autistic. Like, it's one or the other. And I don't mean that in like an insulting way, because like obviously
could be a mixture of both.
It could be, because you can be both. Like obviously, it was just so weird to me. Like, it was just the whole interaction of it was bizarre. So you're going with Robert as well.
Yeah.
I can't just. I had a feeling you might throw a curveball in there and go with Costa, but no, that's
I don't trust him. I don't really trust him. If he did have that one punch knockout power, that it's not that when somebody has that one punch knockout power, it's not that they land it, it's the fear of it possibly landing, and it changes how the other person fights. When you fight Alex Pereira, you know that he can end the fight if he lands something. So now you're weary of it, and that opens up so many other things. He doesn't have that, so you're like, I'm not worried about all those things. So
yeah, no, I think that's 100% fair. So main event time. This is obviously for the featherweight title. It's a fight, again, another fight we've known about for a long time. I think we kind of knew about this one even before Volkanovski took on Makhachev in the second fight.
Yeah, when he walked out the cage. You
knew this was coming. So again, this is one that I've been very consistent on this one since the fight was announced. And I actually had a little bit of a wobble last week. You know, I started thinking like maybe I might flip the pick I've had consistently. I'm sticking with Volkanovski, and like I have a few reasons for this. Now obviously we know how well-rounded Volkanovski is. I mean, we don't need to go into what his skill set is, but I think what tips him for me in any situation is, firstly, it's the level of meticulous planning that this man puts into every fight he has. He goes in there ready, and then one time he didn't. We saw what happened. But what impresses me about Volkanovski the most is like it's his live fight IQ. You know, the way that he adjusts in there, I think he's one of the most intelligent live action fighters in the game. And that's why I have him very highly. That's why I have him so esteemed for me. Like, you know, I know he's older now, he's 35, and that's usually when the decline starts, especially at the top level. But again, it's that intelligence, it's that preparation. I think it's so underrated among casuals. You know, I was actually one of those people who was very frustrated when he took the Makhachev fight for the second time. But I understood it because, you know, for me, if he wins that fight, we're genuinely talking, is he the GOAT? I think at that, if he beats Makhachev in that fight, you'd have a score of people coming out and saying he's the best to ever do it. Not the best featherweight, the best mixed martial artist in terms of. I think that could have been a conversation, and I think it's a shame that after all he's done, that he's thrown that away. But again, I get it. You take the opportunities when they come. But I think again, one thing I want to say before I hand over to you is obviously there's been a lot of talk about his mental health. You know, he had a little bit of a mini breakdown saying that he has struggles with mental health in terms of, you know, how he feels when he's not fighting and how those demons crop up and how he really struggles. And what I've really been happy to see over the last few weeks is he's kind of been embracing his old self a little bit more. You know, the humor revolving around the coming out with the old man pipe and the slippers and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, just leaning into it. That's the Volk I feel is the most dangerous. You know, the one who's, you see the calmness, you see that like, all right, he's had time to go back into the gym. He's got time to prepare. And I haven't spoken about Topuria, but again, he hasn't fought Yair. He hasn't fought Max Holloway. He hasn't fought Brian Ortega. I feel like he's getting a very sudden push here. He obviously got through Emmett, which is a decent win. but I don't know if I haven't seen enough from him to say he's going to beat somebody of the level of Alexander Volkanovski, who for me is still one of the greatest fighters of all time. And I'm not ready to turn my back on him just yet. You know,
Yep.
Ilya's a threat, but I'm not turning my back on Volk. I think he's going to get it. I think he'll find a way to get it done.
Yeah. I think that Ilia Topuria is, like you said, a credible threat. He's very good at, his grappling game, his boxing game is amazing. But for all the people that are saying, and I think Sugar Sean O'Malley actually came out and said that, that he thought Ilia Topuria, had just amazing skills, and he may be doing that to hype up a future fight. But he does have amazing skills. But there's one thing in his game that I have very big questions on, because I don't see it, is his kicking game. I hardly, if ever, have seen him throw a kick. And because of that, that hole in his game is something that I feel like Volkanovski can exploit. And Volkanovski, like you said, his fight IQ in cage and even before is top tier, one of the best that we've ever seen, if not the best that we've ever seen, especially when making adjustments within the fight itself. Yeah. So that being said, I don't think that he is too old. I don't think the 35 curse is going to affect him in this situation. I don't think the knockout is going to affect him in this situation. I don't think that his mental health is going to affect him, because I don't think it's changed. I think that he's always been like this. I don't think that this is just everybody else knows about it. I think he's always been like this. And so I think that he's going to go into this fight the same way that he's been approaching other fights. He's going to look to be fighting the Ilia Topuria that Ilya says that he is, even though that's not the guy that's going to show up. And I think that Alexander Volkanovski beats him, and he might just prolong it and beat him for 5 rounds because he just wants to. I think he finds his weak point and he exploits it. And Ilya bought off more than he could chew. And unfortunately for him, he's going to build himself back up. But I do think that Ilia Topuria is a future star if he can fulfill his promise. I think
he's a future champion as well.
I do think he's a future champion.
I think he'll win the belt at some point.
And I think 26. That him, he's just a kid. Him against Yair is such a massive fight. It's such a sleeping giant of a fight.
Did you see the Yair interview with Ariel about him?
Oh no, I heard that he was going on there, and I knew that this was going to come up. But what did he say?
He absolutely he said he hates him. He said he thinks he's used his mouth to get into this situation. And when it's funny, because Ariel was, how Ariel was number one shit stirrer in the game. He was obviously trying to dig that out of him, and it did come across as a little bit of sour grapes, if I'm honest. But it's very clear that Yair does not like him at all. And he's outright come out and said that he wants to fuck him up, was his exact words. First chance he gets. I think his view on it was, if he beats Brian Ortega in Mexico, I think they're fighting in Mexico City. If he beats him and Topuria wins, then he wants that fight. But obviously, he'd rather have the title fight against Volk if he wins against Brian, which I don't think he'll get it. But there was vitriol. There was vitriol, man. He does not like him at all, and that would be a great fight.
Yeah, and that's if Yair, even if Yair wins or loses, they can still make that fight. If Topuria loses,
justify it.
Either way,
they can. Yeah.
Either way it goes, I think that Topuria, his next fight, if he loses, is going to be against somebody that's Mexican. It's going to be either Ortega.
That whole Spanishy Mexican type thing as well. That would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I just said Spanishy as an adjective. This is a low point. This is a low point. I'm not gonna lie. Man, I'm an English lit major, man. I can't be saying words like Spanishy. That's a disgrace. That's an absolute disgrace. That is. I need to pull myself up on that one. Yeah, so no, it's very interesting. Like I genuinely thought we were gonna diverge quite a bit, especially on the main card. And like I said, I hope in a lot of ways that you're right, because I especially about that NEALE fight. I want to go back to that, but like I really want NEALE to win. But I think, like I said, it's going to be a great card. We just need to cling on to our butt cheeks for a bit until the end of the week and just hope that there's no dropouts, because this card cannot take it. Yeah, one major card drops. If any of the cards from the main card drop out of it, it does take the sting off quite. I mean, the lot. Obviously, we can't lose ELLIOT and Volk. That would be a complete disaster. But I think if we lose any of them, it's not great. I'd even be disappointed to lose Hernandez and KOPYLOV. That would really sour it for me.
But I mean, if anybody's gonna fall off the card,
it's gonna have to be that one.
They should have a live bet for this one. We already know who it's gonna be. If somebody drops out of the fight,
oh yeah, we know who it's gonna be.
You know who it's gonna be. His nickname is the Eraser, for a reason.
Oh, the Eraser. I was going with Garry. Gary. Yeah? I thought he'd. Now that I think about it, there's a very high chance of two of these fights falling out. They can hole up together in the hotel and make a joint video together about how they both caught maybe an STD off each other or something. that could be a nice spin.
They might do that.
Why not?
Oh,
so,
hey.
Yeah. So
go ahead. Did you want to throw this out to the people? You know, something that we're thinking about doing is creating a fight pick league for whomever is interested. Yes. That we can get together and kind of do these all together as a group. I know a lot of y'all in the comments have some really good ideas on who y'all think is going to win the fight. So I think it would be cool to keep score. Let's see how we're doing.
Make it official.
Yeah.
You know, because we do have a lot of active. I mean, like I said, the channel. You know, I'll be the first to admit the channel's small and still, you know, still very much in the growing phase. But the community, the very small community that we do have, are very active. And I think it would be a good way to get, like I said, get people involved and really, just make a bit of fun out of it as well. So that's something we definitely need to. We're gonna have a good discussion about it over this week. And if you are interested, like I said, drop a comment about it if you're in. You know, you can DM one of us on Twitter as well. I know we're always there. So here is an overview of the main card. Now I know for the casuals, it's not really seen as the most stacked one, but personally, I love this card. And as I said, as long as it stays together, and that is a big if, it should be a good one. Just a quick one before we sign off. This has been a long one, but this is a pay-per-view card. I wanted to let this one go as wild as it could. Is there anything in the pipeline? Because you've had some great stuff out recently. Is there anything you want to discuss, brother, before we sign off?
Man, I got a couple of video essays coming out that I'm working on, talking about the Ultimate Fighter and the fall of that. So look out for that one. And then I think next week we'll start the Monday morning matchups, or Monday matchup maker, whatever the name is, where we kind of figure out some matchups that we could put together following the events of the previous week. So
I'm very excited about that.
For that stuff.
It's a bit of a version of who should they fight next, but we're going to add a little bit of a spin to it, hopefully. Yeah. Which I'm very excited about. As always, thanks very much. I'm really looking forward to this card. I will be reacting as always on Saturday. I've got I've been working very hard on this Juliana Pena episode 2 thing, but like I said, it's tough, man. There's just too much to say. You know what I mean? Every time I think I'm done, I'm like, oh yeah, she did that, and I'm like,
she's just
back to the grindstone. It's gonna be like a 4-hour video at this stage, bro. It's getting out of control. Like, sweet, but you know, I'd like to condense it down to it, but I might have to make it like a 3-part series or something. Make it a trilogy. You know, the trilogy. Yeah. But yeah, so look out for that one. I've also got that pod that I've been holding on to with the two of us for a while. So I'm going to be dropping that the day after tomorrow, just before Friday. So yeah, have a great one. Thanks to all of the people who stayed in long for this one. Always appreciated. Have a great one, and we'll catch you for the reaction on Saturday. Take it easy.